Good night, everyone. Tonight, God is good and God is good all the time. My name is Army J. Sprizzer. Let me give you a word on tonight. Now, I pretty much want to talk about the sun staying still. But I'm going to give you the introduction first before we get into it so you can understand what's going on. So, to get a line, he going to deceive Joshua, but then on the second page, on the second story of the sun being still, Joshua, the man that he are, the leader that he are, even though this man gonna deceive him, he's still gonna help him. That's what you call the righteous man. So this deception gonna come from Joshua chapter 9. Oh Lord have mercy. Gon- I'm sorry. It's gonna come from Joshua chapter 9. I'm struggling to put the glasses on. Joshua chapter 9, verse 1 to 26. Now, this one Galilee was deceived Joshua. So the people of Galilee heard what Joshua had done to Jericho. And they had went to Joshua as a donkey and loaded with rolled out clothes. Now, see, he he heard about all the activity that went on. I done put that story out way back then. That's why I would like to do the introduction of the story before I jump into something else. So he gonna have wore out clothes. He gonna put it on purpose. He gonna look like he posed. Putting on old shoes, tore up the clothes, ripped the clothes out, and to deceive Joshua. And so he gonna come and talking about he been driving a long way, and they thirsty and they need food. We don't have anything. The animals took our bag of food and stuff. All that was a lie. And then they went to Joshua to the camp. Went to him and the Israelite that we have come from a long way and made a treaty with us. He said, make a treaty with us. We live a long way, and all that was a lie. So one of the Israelites, asked, don't you live near? Now he said he lived way a distance afar, but one of the Israelites noticed him. And he said, don't you live nearby us? How can we do a treaty with you? You live right here by us. So God deceived them by putting a ragged clothes on, shoes and rip off his clothes and shoes and everything else, And the Israelite, they went out and investigated because they said he looked familiar. He looked like that king in that expensive city and stuff. And he running around looking like he poor. So the Israelite went out and investigate, that he lived. That report came back that he lived near, that he lived nearby, saying that he lived a long way. He lied, he said he lived a long way, and they informed Joshua. And remember, Joshua already made a treaty with him. He deceived Joshua. And Joshua had summoned the Galilee, and said, why did you deceive us? By saying that we live a long way from you and why actually you live near us. Now you are now under a curse. So now since he lied and deceived Joshua already made a treaty with them. So really, he can't really put them out like talking about. So you are now under a curse, and you will never be released from the service at woodcutter. He gonna be cutting wood, and a water carrier. He gonna be carrying the water for the house of my God. So now he done lied to get himself there, and now he can't believe. Just said he can't believe he under a curse now. So in the book of Genesis, Noah predicted Canaan that will someday become the servant of Sam. Now this curse, it may be part of a fulfillment of Noah and sin prophecy. So Noah had prophesied this here, way back then. And so now it come to surface, this curse. So the bringing of the water and the wood to the table becomes the responsibility of the Gadonites. Now these people become servants of the law, providing some of what is needed for the sacrifices and work of the priests. So Noah had predicted this a long time ago. So now we're gonna talk about the sun staying still. Now Joshua unusual bold prayer, unshakable faith. You know, he the only one in the nation, in the world, that God had listened to a human being. And he the only one that was bold enough, to ask God to do something like this. That means Joshua had an unshakable faith. He had an unshakable faith to ask God. This is the first time God did this for someone. Listen. And it's the first time a human being asked God to keep the sun still. So we're going to come from Joshua chapter 10, 1 through 15. Saying this story, God will get his glory. God will get his glory. Because when he stopped that sun, when he stopped the sun and the moon, that's a miracle. That's glory. Ain't nobody can do that by our Heavenly Father. So the Canaanites are attacked by their neighbors, because of their peacemaker with Israel, and this Joshua is called to rescue him. And see, this is the same man that deceived Joshua. See, he lied and said he was poor. Now he is a king in a royalty city. So now his neighbors, seeing that he made a peacemaker with Joshua, living in the land with them. They're trying to figure out what's going on. So then Joshua turned to God with an unusually bold prayer. So now Jerusalem heard that Joshua had taken Ai and totally destroyed it, doing to Ai and its king as he had done to Jacob. And the king that the people of Galilee had made a treaty of peace with Israel and had become their ally. See, he working for the Israelite now. Working for him. He carrying in water and he cutting the woods and everything. And, that's a part of the curse. Since he deceived Joshua. Now Joshua had taken Ai, who lived near to him, but Joshua didn't know Galilee had made a peace with Israel. Secretly without knowledge of their king. So all the kings gonna be looking for him because he made a secret treaty with the Israelite. And he and his people were very much alone, at this because Galilee was an important city. He an important city, like one of the royalty city, and it was larger than hell, and all his men was good fighters. Now he left everybody in the land and he went over there, over there by the Israelite. So they feared greatly, the Israelite. Then they knew from a power city. See, remember one of the Israelite noticed him. They said, wait a minute, don't you live nearby us? And he was like, no, I come from far away. All the while, he is a king. He a royalty city. So he is a powerful person that he went and lied, dressed up like he was poor to deceive Joshua. So they wonder why he here. Now they wonder why he here. That's what they need to do. Ask some questions. You in a royalty city. You is a king. So why are you here? So the king of Jerusalem appealed to Hoham, king of Haran, Hosan, king, all these names. So these are the kings. These are the kings that want to attack Galilee. He left the city, left his city, and then all these kings, they want to know why you here. Why you left your city and why you here. So these kings, they want to attack Galilee, because he made a peace with Joshua and the Israelite. So they didn't want him to make no peace with them. They're trying to figure out, because God made them to be unique. And see, they're all jealous of the Israelite because of the connection they have with God. So then the 5 kings of the Ammonites, the kings of Jerusalem, they all joined forces together to move up all their troops, and took possession against Galilee and attacked. Now this is the same man that deceived Joshua. And this the same man gonna call out for help. That's why it's not good to deceive people and mess over people. Because down the line you're gonna need that same person. He needs that same person that he tried to deceive. He is a king in a royalty city. And you do come and dress like you hope or like you Poe, to be underneath the Israelite. You see, a lot of time the Israelite keep being afraid of people, but they are afraid of them because they is under the powerful God. A lot of people just want to be under them because who they under? They can. I just put that out like yesterday. People can be in high position and everything. You could be in a lower point of them. They will still be jealous of and Israelite be afraid of them, but they really is afraid of the Israelite. It's just like when they was sending the spies out there. This woman who was hiding the spies, she told them, they started shaking their boots when they heard that y'all was coming. When they had heard about the Israelite. And see, the Israelite was afraid to enter, being afraid of them, and they're afraid of them. So he just wanted to be under the Israelite. Cause he heard all the stories about this. He heard how Joshua, they was on that river when they were trying to get over to get into their land. So he heard how Joshua was conquering everything. So now we see that all these kings and all their troops, joined forces, being numbers and returning beyond the Jordan, that had poured forth into the land of Canaan. So the Galileans, they sent word to Joshua in the camp at Gilgal. Do not abandon your servants. They come up to us quickly and save us. Help us because all the Ammonites came from the hill country have joined forces against us. So now, his people, all the kings, his neighbors, they come, they're attacking him. Now he deceived Joshua, but he the main person they calling to help. And a man and a leader that Joshua up. He will come and help. And he's not even gonna say no. He's not even gonna waste no time. Immediately Joshua gonna get his men together and he gonna go save them. He's a good hospitalizer because he said he's under his wing and he will go and protect him. So now remember, Galilee had made a treaty with Joshua, and now Galilee needs help. That the kings had found out that by Joshua now they want to attack him. Now he stated that Joshua is do not delay us. Do not delay us. Be obligated to us, protect us. Because remember we made a treaty with you. By he made a treaty with Joshua, he throwing that in Joshua's face, saying you have to protect us. So being part of their possession, and because we have given ourselves to thee and put ourselves under thy protection. So in the treaty, he's supposed to protect. He's supposed to protect the Galilee. He put a curse on them. See, sometimes you can have a curse and a blessing. He put a curse on them for the water and cutting the wood out, but also while he under Joshua's wing, Joshua's supposed to protect him. And that's what Joshua was saying. So Joshua had marched up from Galilee with his entire army. See, he didn't even waste some time. He even told him no. Okay. He got Joshua getting his whole entire army together, to fight these men. Now, since Galilee had under the treaty, they made together even down beginning. He deceived Joshua. He deceived Joshua at the beginning. But since he deceived Joshua, he still didn't say no. He's immediately start help, and Joshua will rescue him. So Joshua feel like, his duty to defend him. Defend the afflicts that who like the Canaanites are brought, into trouble on our account. So by he owned Joshua on our account, then the Canaanites, they in their land. And Galilee is on their land. So by he own their land and he getting attacked, Joshua feel like it's his obligation to protect him. So the Lord said to Joshua, do not be afraid of them. I have given them into your hands. Not one of them will be able to stand against you. And you remember God told him that at the beginning when he was in training. When he took over after Moses had died, God had told him no one will be able to stand up against you all the days of your life. So now we see that God telling him this again. He said, don't be afraid. He said, no one of them will be able to stand against you. And said that means God meant that because he told them that way at the beginning when he was in training, when he got in Moses' seat. So we see that God meant what he said. He said no one gonna be able to stand up against you. So that's why when Moses go pray about the moon and stuff, God gonna do what he said because God said no one will be able to stand up against him. So even though Joshua had made a bad decision, he made a bad decision by making a treaty with this man because see, God told them, don't make a treaty with no one. He didn't want no one else on that land, you know. And so by making a treaty with the Galileans, God was faithful to his people, and he made a plan to give them success over the king from the south anyway. So God had told Joshua, don't be afraid. I will deliver them into your hands. No one will be able to stand against you, or be able to withstand you. So Joshua is showing righteousness man that he is after having been deceived. After he been deceived, he's showing righteousness right now. Even after he been deceived, by the Galileans, Joshua as a leader, him and immediately, he responded to the call for help. He responded for the call for help. And he did not tell him no. He hurried up and got his army together. So after all night march from Galilee, Joshua had took them by surprise. See, Joshua good. All night. Joshua went a whole nother way and got them by surprise. So Joshua came into them suddenly, and then the Lord threw them into confusion. And before Israel, so Joshua and the Israelite, defeated them completely at Galilee. Israel pursued them along the road going out to Beth-horon and cut them down all the way, all the way to the next city. So Israel pursued them along the road doing Beth and cut them down all the way to Azekah. So Joshua don't play. Joshua, he got them soon he got on the scene. He surprised them, because they didn't know Joshua was coming. So as they had fled before Israel on the road, down from Beth-horon, Lord heard a large hailstone down on them, and more of them had died from the hail, and then were killed by the sword of the Israelites. The Israelites were killed by the sword, and some of them other men, they was killed by the hailstone that God had thrown down. So as the Ammonites had retreated down the road, the Lord had destroyed them with a terrible hailstone, from heaven. That continued until they reached the hell killed more than the enemy than the Israelite killed with the sword. See, some of the Israelites got killed by the sword, and the rest of them got killed by the hailstone that God had dropped down. So on the day the Lord had given the Ammonites over to Israel, Joshua had said to the Lord in the presence of Israel. Now he made this prayer, so he asked God right in front of the Israelites. He said, God, he said the Lord, he said the sun stand still, over the Galilee, and and the moon over the valley, so Joshua is asking God to stop the sun, make it stand still, make the moon stop. This is the first time a human being asks God to do something like this. So the sun has stood still, and the moon had stopped it. into the nation avenge itself on its enemies, as it is written in the book of Jacob. So the sun stopped it in the middle of the sky and delayed going down about the full day. So Joshua came up with this idea for God to stop the sun and stop the moon. So now they talk about the book of Jacob. So many parts of the Bible contain quotes from the older books, songs, or poems, and other spoken or written material. Because they had stated, and selected this material, his message comes with a divine authority. So Joshua asked the Lord, an unusual, bold question. So no one ever asked God this shit before. So Joshua asked God with an unusual, bold question. He had an unshakable faith. He had the unshakable faith to ask God something like that. So ask God about the sun, to stand still. God, I need you to have the sun to stand still, over Galilee, and the moon over the valley. I just need for you to have it to stand still, So they could have, so Joshua and his army, so Joshua asked the sun to stand still, boldly questioned to ask God, but God listened. There was a prolong of the